hungry. Dad said don't come home without money.
No one deserves this. Come with me, son.
Boston Gala, bright lights. A 13-year-old boy stands alone, watching lips he cannot hear. Tessa, a young interpreter, signs hello. His face blooms. Then his father arrives, Maxwell Hart, a striking CEO in a navy suit, applause for him, silence for his son. In Aiden's pocket, a crumpled blueprint labeled Bridge. Can a father learn the language he ignored before the boy walks away for good? The harbor throws silver light against the Langford Hotel's glass, waves tapping the pilings like a soft metronome. Inside, the Boston Seaport Gala blossoms with clinking glasses and careful smiles. Tessa Monroe smooths the hem of her only black cocktail dress and counts the exits the way she always does, an old habit from long nights freelancing. She blends into the backdrop of tuxedos and satin gowns until a small stillness pulls her gaze. A boy stands half-hidden behind a marble column, 13 at most, narrow shoulders drawn tight. His eyes track mouths with the strain of someone trying to catch words before they vanish. No hearing aids, no visible device, just fierce concentration. On his lapel is a small pin that reads, in neat embossing, "Here with your eyes." At his feet sits an old red toolbox, the kind grandfathers keep in garages, corners worn smooth. Resting on top is a folded sheet of graph paper, edges softened by many pockets and many days. Tessa moves closer, and the boy catches her look, startled but curious. She signs, slow and gentle. "Hello, I'm Tessa." Surprise brightens his face. He signs back, quick and dry-witted. "Aiden." Bored. Eyes hurt. He tips his head toward the ballroom where speeches drone and laughter pops like fireworks. Tessa smiles and signs, "I get it." Too much noise, not enough meaning. He points to the paper on the toolbox. "A blueprint." She asks. He nods, unfolds it with careful hands. Two mirrored halves arch toward a center clasp, drawn in pencil and smudged with eraser fog. The title block reads, in block letters, Bridge. He taps the center join, then taps his chest. His eyes say more than his hands have time for. From the entrance, a murmur gathers into a wave. Cameras lift. A tall man steps into the room and every table seems to shift to face him. Deep blue eyes, dark brown hair stroked with elegant gray and parted cleanly to the side. Broad shoulders fill a custom navy suit. The red tie catches the chandelier's light. When he smiles, it is warm, practiced, confident. The name ripples through donors and reporters. Maxwell Hart. Tessa has seen him on screens, CEO of Heartworks, a company that makes cities think smarter. Up close, he is larger than headlines, a presence meant for stages. Eleanor Briggs, his executive assistant, orbits him like a precise moon, fielding microphones, guiding introductions. A photographer gestures, and staff hurry to arrange a shot near the harborside windows. Aiden stiffens. The column no longer covers him. A volunteer ushers Aiden forward, not unkindly, just efficient. Tessa stays beside him, reading his shoulders more than his face now. The crowd opens a lane. Maxwell's smile holds for the donors. Then flickers when his eyes land on his son. For a beat, his polish thins, and the father beneath it surfaces, raw and human. He opens his mouth as if to say something. Then the photographer calls for everyone to look this way. Aiden is positioned at Maxwell's side, their profiles book-matched. The strong jawline echoed, the thick brows a shared handwriting. The camera clicks. Maxwell's arm hovers near his son's back, not quite touching. Aiden stands very straight, eyes on the lens, mouth a firm line. He does not look up. He does not sign. Tessa watches the space between them, a quiet so loud she can feel it in her ribs. She glances at Aiden's blueprint, now folded tight in his fist, and at the toolbox by his shoes. She signs small, down near the hem of her dress, a whisper made of hands. You okay? He answers with one quick sign and a tilted smile. Fine. Liar, she thinks, but the good kind, the brave kind. The speeches resume. A donor's voice floats over the room, praising innovation, resilience, legacy. The words slide past Aiden like rain on glass. Maxwell shakes hands with a senator, then a university dean, then someone from a tech foundation. Eleanor checks a list, mouth moving quietly near his ear. Every few seconds, Maxwell's gaze breaks away and finds his son, then returns to the task at hand, tugged between 1,000 obligations and the one that matters. Tessa edges them toward the fringe again, near a broad window where the harbor's wind scrawls patterns on the water. She signs a simple story, slow and steady, about a bridge she walked as a child, how the boards creaked but held, how you learn to trust it one step at a time. Aiden watches her hands, then copies the curve of her palms. Bridge, he signs, tapping the folded paper once against his heart. He lifts the toolbox's lid, and Tessa glimpses a nest of small parts, gears and bearings, the beginnings of something that moves. Across the room, Maxwell finishes another handshake. He turns, as if drawn by a quieter current, and his eyes land on them again. For the first time tonight, he starts toward his son without a camera asking him to. In the glass behind him, the harbor throws back his reflection, a man built to fix systems walking toward a boy who needs a different kind of repair. Tessa feels the room narrow to this one approach, this one chance. She signs to Aiden, soft and certain, I'm here. Then, for reasons she does not fully understand yet, she steps half a pace forward and takes her place on that fragile span between them. If you've ever stood alone at the edge of a crowd, drop a word bridge in the comments and stay with us. The next morning, Boston's harbor is a muted gray, mist rising off the water in thin veils. Tessa sips lukewarm coffee in her tiny apartment, half expecting an email scolding her for last night. She replayed the moment in her head 100 times, her voice cutting through gala chatter, telling the CEO of Heartworks that his son was standing right there. Brave or foolish, she wasn't sure which. Her phone buzzes. Unknown number. She hesitates, then answers. Tessa Monroe? The voice is firm, precise, and unmistakable. Maxwell Hart. Be at Heartworks headquarters, 10 o'clock. The line goes dead. By 10, she's standing in the lobby of Heartworks, surrounded by marble, steel, and glass that catches every shard of light. Sleek screens pulse with renderings of smart bridges, urban grids, and future cities. She feels underdressed in a cardigan and black jeans, clutching her worn leather bag like a shield. Eleanor Briggs greets her, efficient in a tailored gray suit. Mr. Hart is waiting, Eleanor says, offering no smile, only clipped syllables. Tessa follows her through corridors lined with glass offices and digital models. They step into Maxwell's corner office, floor-to-ceiling windows opening to the harbor, sailboats moving like scattered white commas. Maxwell stands with his back to the view, navy suit perfect, red tie, centered, hands folded behind him. Tessa Monroe, he says, as if weighing each word. Sit. She sits. The chair feels too soft, too polished. You embarrassed me, Maxwell begins. His deep blue eyes fix on her. But you were right. He moves around the desk, setting a sheet of paper before her. It's a contract, clean and formal. 2 sessions weekly. Direct hire, your rate, name it. Tessa stares. You want me to teach you sign language? Yes, Maxwell says, his jaw tightens. I need to learn. Not for optics. For him. He opens a drawer and pulls out a note, edges crumpled, the handwriting boyish but sharp. He slides it across to her. She reads, If you want to help, learn my language. Her throat tightens. She looks up. Aiden wrote this? Maxwell nods. For the first time, the CEO mask slips. Regret shadows his face. I've built systems, cities, partnerships, but my son, I've let him down. His voice lowers, almost lost in the hum of the city outside. I don't know how to fix this, but I can learn. Tessa studies him. The strong square jaw, the shoulders built for boardrooms and headlines, now bent slightly forward, as if carrying a weight no empire could lift. She thinks of Aiden's tight smile, his quick hands spelling invisible in the middle of a crowd. She thinks of the folded blueprint. Why now? She asks. Maxwell glances at the note again, then meets her eyes. Because he asked me in the only way he could, and I can't ignore that anymore. Silence stretches. The harbor wind rattles faintly against the glass. Tessa exhales. All right, but this isn't just about lessons. You can't treat this like another contract or project milestone. You'll have to unlearn a lot. Maxwell's expression shifts, relief mixed with steel determination. Then unteach me. She folds the contract, slips it into her bag. I'll start with something simple, something Aiden needs to see, not hear. Can you be ready for that? He nods. As Eleanor escorts her back out, she catches sight of Maxwell at the window again, holding his son's note. For a man who commands boardrooms, his hands tremble, just slightly. On the sidewalk outside, Tessa feels the city roar around her. Horns, gulls, voices. She imagines Aiden, toolbox by his side, sketching his bridge. For the first time, she wonders if Maxwell Hart might actually be willing to walk across it. Rain streaks the tall glass panes of Hartworks as Tessa steps back into the headquarters the next morning. She rehearses her words in the elevator, reminding herself not to soften too much, not to let intimidation swallow her. When the doors open, Eleanor is already waiting, clipboard tucked neatly against her side. "Follow me," she says briskly. They weave through the open-plan offices, humming with quiet focus until they reach Maxwell's suite. He's there, framed by the harbor behind him, his suit sharp, his tie perfect. But today, there's a different current in the air, something unsettled, almost tentative. Maxwell gestures toward a chair. "I'm not good at waiting. Let's begin." Tessa studies him. "Sign language isn't learned overnight, Mr. Hart." "Maxwell," he corrects, his jaw tightening. "If you're going to critique me, at least use my name." She smirks despite herself. "All right, Maxwell. Then here's your first lesson. Patience." His eyes flash, but he doesn't argue. Instead, he pulls a yellow legal pad closer, pen poised. "Show me." She starts with the alphabet. Slow, deliberate movements. His large hands follow, stumbling, reversing letters, sometimes giving up halfway. Frustration flickers across his face. "This is absurd," he mutters. "Absurd," she replies evenly, "is a father giving up before trying." He freezes. Her words strike harder than she meant. His gaze darkens, then drops to the desk. "Again," he says quietly. She guides him, correcting the curl of his fingers, the angle of his thumb. At last, she shows him something beyond the alphabet. This matters more than spelling names. Watch. She shapes the words slowly with her hands. "Proud of you." Maxwell attempts it, clumsy, but close. She repeats it. He mirrors her again, slower. Then he stops, his hands hovering mid-air, as if the phrase caught him by the throat. "When was the last time you said that to him?" she asks gently. His jaw works. He swallows, his shoulders squaring as if under invisible weight. "Years," he admits. "Too many years. I've congratulated him, corrected him. But that," his voice roughens, "not in a long time." "Then learn it," she says, steady, "because that's the first thing he needs to see." He nods once, sharp and clipped, but his eyes betray him. Blue, storm-lit, holding a regret that suits and ties can't hide. He signs it again. "Proud of you." This time his hands are steadier. The session ends with Eleanor stepping back into the office, schedule in hand. Maxwell waves her off, eyes still on his own fingers as if memorizing the shape of the words. Tessa gathers her bag, but pauses at the door. "Maxwell," she says softly. He looks up. "It's not about perfection. It's about showing up." He exhales, long and uneven. "Then I'll show up. Every time." Outside, the rain has stopped, leaving the harbor glittering with scattered sun. Tessa walks toward the subway, her heart unsteady. She had seen cracks in the polished armor of a man Boston worshipped. But what lingered in her mind was not his wealth or his power, it was the way his voice trembled when he admitted he hadn't said 3 simple words in years. Back in his office, Maxwell Hart sits alone. On his desk lies the crumpled note from his son, edges worn, letters bold. "If you want to help, learn my language." He traces the words once with his thumb, then shapes the air with his hands again. "Proud of you." The glass wall reflects him practicing, over and over, a man trying to rebuild what was nearly lost. The next lesson takes place in Maxwell's office, late afternoon. The harbor beyond his windows glows gold, the skyline flickering in the last stretch of light. Maxwell stands in his navy suit, jacket off, sleeves rolled, tie loosened just enough to show the strain of the day. Papers are stacked neatly at one end of his desk, but the center is bare, cleared for this. Tessa places her bag down and signs the alphabet as review. Maxwell mirrors her, slower now, but steady. His hands stumble at Q and Z, but he refuses to break eye contact, jaw locked. "You're too stiff," she tells him. "This isn't a boardroom pitch. Your hands have to breathe." He exhales through his nose, frustration rising. "I'm not built for this." "You're built for your son," she counters, "and that's enough." She pivots, introducing a phrase she knows matters more than any alphabet. She shapes the words clearly. "Proud of you." Maxwell freezes. The air shifts. He attempts it, thumb faltering, palm angled wrong. His deep blue eyes narrow with irritation. He tries again, this time smoother, but still flawed. "Slower," she says. "It's not about speed." He lifts his hands, moving carefully. "Proud of you." The movements land closer, truer. His lips part as though to speak, but no sound follows. Tessa watches him wrestle with the weight of it. "When did you last tell Aiden those words? With your voice or your hands?" His square jaw tightens. "Not since before he got sick." His tone is flat, almost clinical, but his eyes betray him, haunted, aching. "After meningitis, I threw myself into finding cures, therapies, fixes. I thought if I solved the problem, I'd have my son back. I never realized he just wanted me to speak his language." Tessa softens. "It's not too late, but it has to come from you, not from an app or a tutor you delegate." Maxwell looks at his hands as though they're foreign tools. Slowly, he signs again. "Proud of you." This time, the phrase doesn't just form, it lands. His breath shakes when he finishes. Silence hangs heavy between them, broken only by the hum of the city outside. "That," Tessa says gently, "is what he's been waiting for." Maxwell lowers his hands, staring at the grain of the desk. "I've told thousands of employees they matter. I've never told my own son the one thing he needed most." "Then start now," she whispers. He nods, almost imperceptibly. The session winds down. Eleanor pokes her head in with a folder, but Maxwell waves her off, unusually distracted. He picks up the crumpled note from Aiden, running his thumb along the creases. The words stare back at him like an indictment. "If you want to help, learn my language." As Tessa gathers her things, she pauses by the door. "Maxwell," she says softly, "you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present." He looks up, the mask of CEO polish cracked by something raw. "Then I'll keep showing up, no matter how long it takes." Outside, the harbor wind cuts sharp, carrying the smell of salt and iron. Tessa pulls her coat tighter and glances back at the looming glass tower. For the first time, she believes the man inside might be more than his reputation. In his office, Maxwell remains at the desk, hands practicing the phrase again and again until the motions feel less like mechanics and more like truth. When he finally stops, the city lights blaze against the glass, and his reflection shows not a CEO, but a father learning to begin again. The school workshop smells of sawdust and metal, the kind of place where projects live half-built and dreams take shape in scraps. Rows of benches hold soldering irons, clamps, wood shavings, and gears in every size. Aiden stands at one corner table, his old red toolbox open, parts spread across the surface like treasure. Beside him spins a wooden frame, his kinetic sculpture. A silent sphere rotates slowly, balanced on careful bearings. Tessa leans against the doorway, smiling. "Silent orbit?" she signs, pointing at the sculpture. Aiden nods, his eyes bright. He pins his badge to his shirt. "Here with your eyes." Then, with a proud little flourish, he sets the sphere spinning again. Its motion is smooth, graceful, almost hypnotic. "You made this?" she asks. He signs quickly. "Built. Fixed. Tried again." His lips twitch into the faintest smirk. "Perfection. Boring." Tessa laughs softly. "You sound like an artist already." The workshop door creaks, and the sound changes the air. Maxwell enters, tall and commanding even here among the tools and scraps. His navy suit looks out of place under fluorescent lights, but his eyes fix on his son, not the room. He stays back at first, almost hesitant, as if unsure of his place here. Aiden notices him. His expression hardens, the wall going up. He turns back to his sculpture, spinning the sphere again. Tessa feels the tension press down like humidity. Maxwell takes a step closer. "May I?" he asks, his voice low. Aiden doesn't answer with words. His hands rest against the table, still, waiting. Maxwell lifts his hands, movements awkward and heavy. He signs, "Proud." His thumb slips wrong. Aiden blinks, startled. Then a sound bursts from him, a laugh. Genuine, quick, surprised. He shakes his head, signs the correction with practiced fingers, and gently takes his father's large hand to guide it. Together, they form the right shape. Maxwell exhales, something loosening in his chest. He repeats it, slower, more careful. "Proud." Aiden watches, then nods once. A small smile breaks through his guard. For a fleeting second, the workshop feels different. Lighter, alive with the possibility of something mending. Tessa sees it. She doesn't step in, doesn't break the fragile current flowing between father and son. Instead, she leans back against the wall, letting them find their rhythm. Maxwell points at the sculpture, his movements clumsy but determined. "Beautiful," he signs. Aiden tilts his head, the hint of a grin playing at his lips. He signs back, "Thank you." The silence that follows isn't empty. It's full of sawdust, of unspoken apologies, of the soundless language finally beginning to take root. Coach Ramirez, the shop teacher, pokes his head in, eyebrows rising at the scene. He doesn't comment, just offers a respectful nod before retreating. Maxwell steps closer to the sculpture. "What's it called?" he asks. Aiden signs clearly. "Silent orbit." His eyes hold a question. "Do you get it?" Maxwell studies the spinning sphere. The perfect motion, the way it keeps moving without sound, held together by balance and precision. He swallows hard. "I think I do," he murmurs. The bell rings down the hall, but Aiden doesn't move right away. He lingers, one hand resting on the old red toolbox. His other hand shapes a small sign, subtle, half hidden. Maybe hope. Maxwell watches, unsure of its exact meaning but feeling it all the same. When Aiden finally leaves with his toolbox in tow, Maxwell stays behind, staring at the sculpture. The silent sphere spins, slow and steady, like a promise kept in motion. Tessa breaks the quiet. "He laughed with you today. That's a start." Maxwell nods, his deep blue eyes still fixed on the sculpture. Then I'll keep building, however long it takes. The hum of downtown Boston filters into Maxwell's office through half-open windows. Horns, footsteps, the city alive with deadlines. Maxwell sits at his desk, a tablet glowing with language apps. He swipes through modules, digital hands performing signs in perfect speed. He mimics them, fast, mechanical. His brow furrows. Frustration pools in the crease of his square jaw. When Tessa enters, she spots the sleek headset, the piles of manuals, even a flyer for a private tutor on his desk. "You've been busy," she says carefully. "I don't have time to waste," Maxwell replies, gesturing at the apps. "If I can master systems, I can master this faster." Tessa sets down her bag, folding her arms. "That's not how language works, and certainly not this one." "I'm accelerating the process," he says. His deep blue eyes harden with the stubborn confidence of a man who's never been told no. Aiden deserves results. "No," she corrects, stepping closer. "Aiden deserves patience." He blinks, caught off guard. "I have obligations, investors, boards. If I can shave off months—" "Stop." Her voice slices clean. She signs the word slow, hands deliberate. "You're trying to engineer a shortcut, but Aiden doesn't need another fix. He needs a father willing to learn slowly, to stumble, to look foolish in front of him." Maxwell's shoulders stiffen. "Do you have any idea what it's like to hold the weight of an entire company? The deadlines, the pressure?" "Yes," she fires back. "But I also know what it looks like when a boy signs invisible at his own father's side." The words land hard. Maxwell's breath catches. His mask cracks, shame flashing across his face. He lowers his gaze to the polished wood of his desk, suddenly smaller inside the vast office. Tessa softens, stepping closer. He doesn't need a CEO who learns fast. He needs a dad who shows up, even if you fumble every single word. Silence fills the room, heavy as stone. The city noise fades. Only Maxwell's ragged breathing remains. Finally, he exhales. He takes off the headset, sets it aside. "You're right," he murmurs, "but I'm terrified. Every day I feel like I'm running out of time with him." "Then stop running," she says gently. "Sit. Learn. Be present." Maxwell rubs a hand over his face, the strong lines of his jaw tightening. When he looks up, his eyes are raw, stripped of their usual steel. "Teach me something that can't be bought." She nods. Slowly, deliberately, she shapes the sign for sorry. Then she repeats it until his larger hands begin to mirror hers. Awkward at first, then steadier. "Say it to him," she instructs. "Not perfect, just real." Maxwell nods once, a man who has signed contracts worth billions but feels more weight in this one word than all the rest. As she gathers her things, Tessa glances back. Maxwell sits at his desk, his hands repeating the sign. "Sorry, sorry, sorry." Practicing not like an executive, but like a father who knows there are no shortcuts to forgiveness. The Maker showcase buzzes with voices. The gymnasium transformed into a gallery of inventions. Tables brim with models, wires, and cardboard displays. Parents beam, teachers hover, and students jostle with excitement. At one corner, Aiden stands stiffly beside his project. A silent orbit spins under the fluorescent lights, elegant in its quiet rhythm. His old red toolbox sits nearby, lid half open, as if waiting for trust. Tessa joins him, her hands gentle. "Nervous?" she signs. Aiden shrugs, forcing a smirk. "Always." Then the crowd shifts. Attention magnetized by a tall figure entering the room. Maxwell, broad shoulders filling his custom navy suit, red tie, crisp, jawline sharp. Whispers ripple. Phones rise discreetly. He commands the space effortlessly, yet for once his eyes search only for his son. He walks straight to Aiden's table. The noise dims. Conversations falter. Parents nudge each other. Look, it's him. Aiden's shoulders tighten. His hands hover near his pockets, ready to retreat. Maxwell stops in front of silent orbit. He inhales deeply, steadying himself. Then, with deliberate care, he raises his hands. The movements are slow, not flawless, but unmistakable, beautiful. Proud of you. The room hushes. Cameras lower. Even the fluorescent buzz feels muted. Aiden stares at him, blinking fast. For a heartbeat, disbelief holds him still. Then his hands answer. Smaller. Quick. Thank you. The connection snaps into place, fragile but real, in front of everyone. Tessa feels her throat tighten. The air itself seems to soften around them. For the first time, father and son stand together without translation. No interpreter needed, just hands bridging what years had broken. Parents nearby whisper, "Did you see that?" He signed. A teacher discreetly wipes her eyes. Coach Ramirez, standing at the back, nods slowly, pride etched in his face. Aiden shifts closer to his project, his hand brushing the edge of the toolbox. He glances up at his father, the hint of a smile twitching before he hides it. His sculpture spins, silent applause for the moment. Maxwell leans slightly forward, whispering with his voice what his hands just said. "I mean it, son." Aiden studies him, then signs once more, careful and deliberate. "Here with your eyes." His badge gleams under the lights. The words land heavy. Maxwell's jaw tightens, emotion flooding his deep blue eyes. For once, he doesn't try to control it. The showcase continues, but for them, the noise fades. Only the silent language between father and son fills the space, fragile and luminous. For the first time in public, Aiden is not invisible. The applause from the showcase still echoes when Maxwell steps onto the stage. His presence alone hushes the gymnasium. Broad-shouldered, confident, red tie catching the light. He commands the room with ease. He thanks the parents, the teachers, the students. Then his voice rises, polished and proud. "Tonight, I am honored to announce the Heart Innovation Fellowship, a full year in Zurich robotics, granted to one remarkable young mind. And that recipient is my son, Aiden Hart." The audience erupts. Applause, cheers, phones flashing photos. Teachers beam, parents whisper in awe. But Aiden doesn't move. His hands stiffen at his sides, his eyes wide. He turns toward Maxwell, disbelief etched across his face. His chest heaves once, twice. Then his hands fly, sharp and furious. "You decide, not ask." His fingers tremble. His jaw clenches. Tessa gasps. The crowd still claps, thinking this is pride. But Aiden's signing is pure fire, his eyes glassy. He had begged to attend the deaf summer program at Galladay, to choose his own space, his own language. Instead, he's been paraded again. Maxwell freezes, smile faltering. He hadn't expected this. He extends a hand as if to calm his son, but Aiden jerks back, the betrayal stinging sharper than any words. His old red toolbox clatters as he slams it shut, scooping it into his arms. The applause dies awkwardly. Whispers rise. Parents murmur, teachers shift uncomfortably. Aiden's face burns with humiliation as he bolts from the stage, weaving through the crowd. "Aiden!" Maxwell calls, his polished voice cracking on the name. Cameras capture the moment, but no one dares move. Tessa rushes after Aiden, but the boy is already gone, toolbox banging against his hip as he vanishes down the hall. On stage, Maxwell stands alone. The confident CEO, undone by his own blind certainty. He grips the podium, his knuckles white. For a man who has mastered boardrooms, the silence now is merciless. In the back, Coach Ramirez shakes his head, muttering under his breath, "Should have asked, not told." Tessa returns, breathless, eyes blazing. "Do you see?" she says, low but sharp. This isn't about opportunities or fellowships, it's about choice. His choice. Maxwell looks at her, eyes stricken. For once he has no words, only the weight of applause that feels like betrayal. The side room is dim, lit only by a buzzing fluorescent strip that flickers like a heartbeat out of sync. Aiden stands with his back to the wall, toolbox clutched against his chest like a shield. His hands move so fast they blur, furious, jagged signs spilling out too quick for Maxwell to follow. Tessa catches up, stepping between them. "Slow down," she urges, eyes locking with Aiden's. He hesitates, then signs again, sharper this time. He wants choice, not control, not decisions handed down like orders from a boardroom. Tessa voices it for Maxwell. He says you keep deciding his life without asking. He doesn't want to be a project. He wants to be heard. Maxwell's breath comes heavy, shoulders rising with the strain. I thought Zurich would give him everything. Prestige, opportunities, a future. Aiden's hands slam the air. You decide. You, not me. His eyes glisten with angry tears. Maxwell takes a step closer, then stops, his polished mask slipping. His deep blue eyes burn with something raw. Do you think I don't know what it's like to lose him once already? Tessa frowns. Lose him? Maxwell's voice drops, rough as gravel. He was 6. Meningitis. 1 week he was laughing, talking, climbing trees. The next, he swallows hard, his square jaw trembling. Silence. I thought if I threw money at doctors, at treatments, at anything, if I could just fix it, he'd come back to me. Aiden freezes, his hands lowering slightly. Maxwell's voice cracks. I repair systems, cities, partnerships, but not my own son. I never learned how. The confession hangs in the room, heavier than the silence. Tessa's chest tightens. She translates slowly, making sure every word reaches Aiden's eyes. Aiden's lips part, trembling. His hands rise, hesitant but deliberate. I don't need fixing. I need a bridge. The words hit Maxwell like a blow. His breath catches, his shoulders slump. For a moment, the towering CEO looks like nothing more than a man who's been building in the wrong direction. He nods once, swallowing hard. His hands twitch as if ready to try, but falter midair. He looks to Tessa, then to his son. Then show me, he whispers. Aiden's face is wet now, streaked with silent tears. He signs one word, sharp and final. Trust. Maxwell doesn't move closer, doesn't reach out. He just stands, breathing heavily, stripped of all armor. For the first time, he doesn't try to lead. He waits. The only sound is the faint hum of the light above, as father and son stare at each other across the small space, both knowing something has broken, yet something else is just beginning to form. Maxwell bursts into the workshop late at night, the hum of the city muted behind school walls. Desks are scattered with wood scraps, loose gears, and half-finished projects. Tessa stands by the door, holding up a sheet of paper she found on Aiden's work table. The blueprint. In pencil, 2 halves of a bridge stretch toward each other, meeting at clasped hands. The title block is bold, underlined. Bridge. He left this, Tessa says quietly. Maxwell takes it, staring at the smudged lines as though they hold more weight than all his contracts combined. His deep blue eyes sting. He's telling me what he needs, and I've been too blind to see it. A text from Eleanor buzzes his phone. Investors, Zurich board, a press release waiting. Maxwell silences it. He shoves the phone into his pocket, grabs his coat, and runs. The night air is sharp as he follows the trail, his polished shoes pounding against damp sidewalks. At the harbor pier, he sees him. Aiden, hunched on a bench, toolbox by his side, the blueprint folded tight in his lap. The boy's shoulders are small against the endless dark water. Maxwell slows, his breath ragged. He steps forward, then stops a few feet away. His hands tremble as he lifts them. The signs are clumsy, jagged, but honest. Sorry, scared, lose you. Aiden doesn't look up right away. The wind tugs at his hair, his fingers tightening around the blueprint. When he finally meets his father's eyes, they are wary, searching, waiting for what words alone can't fix. Maxwell's throat works. For once, the square jaw and strong shoulders offer no protection. His deep blue eyes glisten, stripped bare of CEO armor. He kneels, lowering himself so he isn't towering, so he can be level. "I don't know how to build this bridge," he says softly, "but I want to try. If you'll let me." Aiden's hands rise slowly. His movements are small, deliberate. Can't buy, must build. The words cut clean, undeniable. Maxwell nods, tears slipping past the iron of his control. "Then let's build it together." He fumbles through the signs again, slow and uneven. "Teach me. Every day. Slow." The boy stares at him for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he reaches into the old red toolbox, pulls out a small gear, and presses it into his father's palm. "Build," his hands say, "but don't rush." Maxwell curls his fingers around the gear, holding it like a vow. For the first time, he isn't planning, fixing, or dictating. He's waiting, willing to learn at his son's pace. The harbor wind rushes past them, carrying the faint scent of salt and iron. The blueprint rests between them on the bench, edges fluttering. Two halves reaching toward the center. For the first time in years, Maxwell doesn't feel like the master of systems or the face of Heartworks. He feels like a father who has finally stopped running and started listening. The boardroom at Heartworks buzzes with low conversation, screens glowing with Zurich contracts, charts, and timelines. Eleanor sets a stack of documents before Maxwell, her expression calm but expectant. "The Zurich Robotics Fellowship is ready for announcement. Press release in 2 hours." Maxwell doesn't touch the papers. Instead, he studies the small gear in his pocket, the one Aiden pressed into his hand the night before. He turns it slowly between his fingers, the edges warm now from being carried close. Eleanor notices his distraction. "Maxwell, this is a milestone. Investors are already positioning—" "Cancel Zurich," he interrupts, his voice steady but final. She blinks. "Excuse me?" He looks up, his deep blue eyes unwavering. "Cancel it. My son will choose his own path." The room falls silent. Eleanor stares at him, incredulous. "Do you realize what that means? The backlash, the perception?" "Perception doesn't matter," he says firmly. "Not if I lose him in the process." The executives glance at each other, startled. For once, Maxwell Hart sounds less like a CEO and more like a father reclaiming his voice. That evening, he waits at the kitchen table of his townhouse, the blueprint bridge. Lies unfolded between them. Aiden sits across, toolbox at his feet, hands restless. Maxwell takes a deep breath. He raises his hands, careful, deliberate. "Your choice." Aiden freezes, eyes wide. Maxwell repeats it, slower, steadier. "Your choice." Tessa, sitting nearby, lets out a soft breath of relief. Aiden leans forward, his hands moving cautiously. Gallaudet, summer, friends, language. His fingers tremble, not with fear, but with hope. Maxwell's throat tightens. He nods, then signs back with rare precision. "Your choice." The boy stares at him, disbelief melting into something warmer. For the first time, the power shifts. Control dissolves into trust. Tessa feels her eyes sting. She's witnessed fathers and sons fight, drift, collapse. But here, she sees something rarer. Surrender. The kind that builds instead of destroys. Maxwell slides the small gear across the table to his son. "We'll build this bridge together. Slow. Every day." Aiden picks it up, closing his fist around it. Then, almost shyly, He signs one word. Teach. Maxwell's face softens. He mirrors the sign, hands steady. Learn. The blueprint rests between them, no longer just pencil lines on paper but a living promise. Two halves, reaching, meeting. For once, there is no rush. The Deaf Youth STEM Forum fills the auditorium with bright lights and quiet anticipation. Rows of students, parents, and teachers settle into their seats, hands ready for the applause of waving fingers. On stage, Aiden stands beside a table displaying Silent Orbit and the folded bridge blueprint pinned upright like a banner. His old red toolbox sits open, parts neatly arranged, a badge on his chest gleaming, "Here with your eyes." Backstage, Maxwell adjusts his red tie, shoulders tense. He's used to keynotes, investor pitches, rooms filled with power. But this is different. This isn't about being heard, it's about listening. Tessa touches his arm lightly. Front row, watch, sign along if you can. When Aiden begins, there is no microphone, no sound system, just his hands. He signs with confidence, his fingers tracing arcs as he explains Silent Orbit's balance, the mechanics of the sphere, the way motion can be steady without noise. Tessa voices softly for the hearing audience, her words shadowing his hands. Maxwell sits tall in the front row, his deep blue eyes fixed on his son. His large hands rise, clumsy but determined, echoing each sign. Beautiful, orbit, together. His movements are halting, uneven, but his focus is unshakable. When Aiden unveils the bridge blueprint, the room leans in. His hands describe two halves reaching across a gap, joined not by force, but by choice. He signs. Language is a bridge. Listening is love. The audience stills, moved by the clarity of his message. Tessa's voice trembles slightly as she interprets. Then Aiden turns directly toward his father. His hands shape the words slowly, deliberately. Love you. The auditorium holds its breath. Maxwell's throat tightens, but he doesn't hesitate. His hands rise, strong and certain. Love you, always. The silence erupts into hand-waving applause, dozens of arms lifted, a sea of joy without sound. The sphere of Silent Orbit spins slowly under the lights, reflecting every flicker of movement. Maxwell's vision blurs, but he doesn't care. For the first time, his son's words have reached him without translation, without walls. And for the first time, his reply has landed where it always belonged. Tessa wipes her eyes discreetly at the side of the stage. She's watched bridges crumble before. Tonight, she watches one built in real time. Steady, imperfect, unshakable. Aiden smiles. Wide, unguarded, real. The boy who once signed invisible now stands at the center of the room, fully seen. A month later, the conference room at Heartworks looks different. No polished investor pitch, no sterile silence. Instead, a banner stretches across the wall. Aurora Foundation for Deaf Tech and Arts. Staff gather, whispering curiosity, while cameras hover at the edges. Maxwell stands at the front, navy suit sharp, red tie centered, but his presence feels changed. Beside him is Aiden, toolbox on the table, blueprint bridge framed behind them. Tessa stands to the side, hands folded, eyes shining with quiet pride. Maxwell begins, his voice steady but softer than usual. For years, I built cities, systems, and networks, but I failed to build the one bridge that mattered most, between myself and my son. Today, that changes. He steps aside, motioning toward Aiden. The boy pins on his badge. Here with your eyes. His hands rise, confident. He signs, Foundation, Future, Together. Tessa voices for the audience. The Aurora Foundation will fund workshops, scholarships, and innovation programs for deaf youth. Every staff member will learn ASL, no exceptions. Gasps ripple. This is not just philanthropy, it's policy, a new rule from the top. Eleanor Briggs, clipboard in hand, looks stunned. For the first time in years of service, she seems at a loss. Then she straightens and, after a beat, signs with stiff fingers, "Learn. Start today." The room exhales in relief. Maxwell smiles warmly, his deep blue eyes glistening. For too long, I thought leadership meant speaking louder. Now, I know true leadership means listening. He turns to Aiden. And building together. The applause is thunderous. Cameras flash, capturing the moment. A CEO, once known for steel and glass, now building a legacy out of language and love. Afterward, staff linger. Some approach Tessa, asking about enrollment in ASL classes. Others kneel to greet Aiden, watching as he proudly shows them the silent orbit model on display. Coach Ramirez even stops by, chuckling. "Kid, you're making the rest of us look lazy." Aiden grins, signing back, "Work hard, play harder." Maxwell laughs, clapping a hand on his son's shoulder. The warmth between them radiates, undeniable, unpolished, real. As the crowd disperses, Maxwell pulls a small velvet box from his pocket. He opens it to reveal a pin engraved with the Foundation's motto, "Hear with your eyes." He fastens it to Aiden's blazer, his hands trembling slightly. "This is yours," he says softly. "Not because of me, because of you." Aiden looks down, fingers brushing the metal. Then he signs slowly, eyes steady on his father. "Proud of you." Maxwell swallows hard. He signs back, hands sure, "Proud of us." The cameras catch it. The world sees it. But for father and son, it's not a press moment. It's a promise. The new children's wing of Boston General hums with fresh paint and quiet anticipation. In the lobby, sunlight pours through tall windows, casting warm patterns across polished floors. At the center stands a towering sculpture, Aiden's silent orbit, enlarged, its sphere gliding slowly, balanced in perfect silence. Children gather around it, wide-eyed, tracing the motion with their fingers. Maxwell stands beside his son, broad-shouldered in his navy suit, red tie, neat, every inch the commanding CEO, but different now, softer. His deep blue eyes aren't scanning the crowd or cameras. They're fixed on Aiden. Reporters snap photos. But Aiden doesn't shrink this time. He sets his old red toolbox on the floor and pulls something from it. The worn blueprint, bridge. He unfolds it carefully and presses it into his father's hands. Then he signs, "Build. Together?" Maxwell's throat tightens. He looks at the smudged pencil lines, the two halves meeting at clasped hands. Slowly, deliberately, he raises his own hands. Always. Tessa, standing nearby, wipes her eyes, watching the exchange like someone witnessing a promise fulfilled. Around them, the crowd sees more than a CEO and his son. They see a bridge built in real time. Aiden digs deeper into the toolbox, pulling out two gears, one small, one large. He presses the smaller into his father's palm, the larger into his own. He signs with a grin, "Partners." Maxwell laughs softly, tears brimming, and signs back, "Family." Flashbulbs capture the moment, but for them, it isn't about headlines. It's about language that no longer divides, but binds. The sculpture turns slowly above them, a silent orbit reflecting the journey they've taken. When the ceremony ends, children approach Aiden, asking to see the blueprint, to touch the gears. He kneels, patient, showing them, his hands moving easily in the language that once made him invisible but now makes him shine. Maxwell stands behind him, not as a distant figurehead, but as a steady presence. The man who once built cities now builds something smaller, but infinitely stronger. A bridge of trust. As they leave the hospital together, the blueprint folded between them, Aiden glances up at his father and signs one last word, "Home." Maxwell smiles, warm and certain, and signs back, "Always." The doors open, spilling them into the daylight. Father and son walk side by side, Toolbox swinging lightly, blueprint tucked safe, a bridge at last complete.